Hello, everyone. Welcome back and welcome, however, you were finding me, whether that's via YouTube or Substack. I am here to deliver this week's cosmic report and touch upon the astrology that's happening ahead of Wednesday's solar eclipse. This month's eclipse season is going to be one for the history books. I want to say that calmly because it's the kind of sentence that sounds like fear-mongering, but it really isn't. There are some game-changing celestial events occurring this month, so everyone grab your eclipse glasses for the first one that's coming up this Wednesday, August 12th. We have got a South Node solar eclipse in Leo, which hasn't happened in almost 2 decades, paired with a new moon and a meteor shower, all happening on the same day. Then, later this month, and paired with a full moon, we have a North Node lunar eclipse in Pisces. Together, they are here to deflate egos, dethrone tyrants, and close out an 18-month cycle that we've all been wading through, drudging the road, if you will, to happier destinies. So grab your tea, your tinfoil hat, and any skepticism that you need for your own discernment, and let's get into it. First, the headline. Solar eclipses tend to rattle authority figures. That's just the pattern historically. We can look to major events or the deaths of prominent global leaders that have marked these periods of time, but a solar eclipse conjunct the South Node in Leo carries extra weight because Leo is the sign of the sovereign, the spotlight, the crown. It's giving main character energy, dethrone the king kind of energy. So expect global events to upstage any personal plans that you are making. And I would advise to make room in your schedule to clear out some space that's just for you. Expect someone somewhere to have their authority questioned, maybe even a couple of high-profile deaths or just some unhinged influencer under the influence of delusion traumatizing people on the interwebs. And as with every eclipse, brace for the unexpected and don't be shocked by sudden earth-rattling events and outages, literal or otherwise. But before we go into that, let's get into the good news first, because I'd like to lead with that since it does make the week a little bit better. Venus entered Libra last week on Thursday, August 6th, so this is giving our relationships and our bonds a bit of a boost. The rest of this month would be a great time to schedule friend dates, upgrade your accessory game, and brush up on your negotiation skills. Venus loves being in social justice-oriented Libra. It's her home turf, which means that this is your window to celebrate, to matchmake, or to advocate for something that you actually truly care about. And then Mercury, the planet of communication, strolls into showy, expressive, creative Leo on Sunday, the 9th of August, which is today, by the way, stoking our creative confidence and, let's be honest, our not so humble brags. Use a stretch to say the big idea out loud. Let yourself be cringe. Go on, you've earned that crash out. So for the rest of this month and into September, try not to sweat the small stuff. You have the permission to just let it go. So what's happening quietly? Underneath all of that, the outer planets are almost behaving themselves. This is good news. Pluto, Saturn, Neptune, all of which are in retrograde, slows their public drama down to a little bit of a simmer. Uranus keeps moving forward through Gemini, though. And Barbolt's planetary basket is still cradling our sky, keeping these planetary energies neatly containerized for us. Even with that hole in the basket, which is exactly where Chiron is sitting, and it's also retrograde, there is an ongoing evolutionary pull towards transformation, regeneration, rebirth is fully amplified by the South Node that's sitting right next to the solar eclipse that we're having on Wednesday. So we are being asked for empathy, for compassion, and yes, also for discernment and a willingness to let something fall apart. Willingly, I know, it's crazy, huh? Left alone, things don't hold steady. They decay. We don't need any more decay when things are already so rotten. So it's time to rip off the Band-Aid and readdress the wound that's open and, well, festering. So I'd also like to speak a little bit about Jupiter because it is catapulting ahead in the sky. Jupiter is having a wild month. If you know your chart, go look and see where Leo is, especially like the first half of Leo, the first and the second decans, because whatever activity is there is about to accelerate. This can feel like a big over-the-top chapter of your life. It can also be genuinely fruitful, possibly both at the same time. And that's very on brand for Jupiter, by the way, and for Leo too. It also means that folks with the Leo sun, moon, or rising, such as myself, are getting a bit of a break this year as Jupiter transits through the bold and courageous sign of Leo. So let's talk about Chiron. Chiron briefly dipped into Taurus back in June 19th, the same sign that it was actually discovered in 1977, the year I was born. Yes, I am 49 years old as of last month, and has been retrograde since August 3rd. So come September, it's heading back into Aries one last time, and we won't see it in Taurus again until April of 2027. So the wounds around security are asking us to look at these things properly, not just endure them. Rather than holding your breath through the hard feelings about self-worth, value, scarcity, this is your invitation to let that story evolve. Meanwhile, Venus has climbed out of her fall in Virgo and moved into Libra on August 6th, where she is frankly delighted to be. Venus in Libra is about relating, making adjustments toward harmony, embodying elegance, and letting relationships and opportunities move the way water moves without forcing them. Chiron stationing in Taurus and Venus wrapping up her time in Virgo are all pointing at the same thing from two different directions. You need to book the checkup. Do the thing that you've been putting off since spring. And I mean that in a calm way, not like a panic way, but put your health somewhere in the front of your list this month without making a whole production of it. Mercury retrograde in that whole July situation is officially history, thankfully. And now Mercury is entering Leo on August 9th, where it stays for just 16 days before slipping into earthy Virgo by the month's end. So use this window well. It's very short. Be smart and stay grounded on what you are thinking about communicating with others. Let's talk about Mars, Neptune, and the need for flow. Mars started the month in Gemini and it ends in Cancer. So somewhere around August 16th, Mars squares Neptune. My honest astrological advice for this transit is just move your booty. Dance, exercise, swim, pick your flow of choice. Just keep moving. A square means that there's a little bit of friction, which means that there's energy that needs to go somewhere. So Mars is action and motion. Neptune is the dream, the creative undertow. Blend them on purpose. Anything physical enough to move the delusion of Neptune out through assertiveness of Mars will help you release this tension that you might face. You could meditate through it, yeah, but I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend moving first. The eclipses themselves, let's talk about these two big events. First, the solar eclipse that's happening this Wednesday on August 12th. Where I am in the Amsterdam time zone, it's going to be occurring around 7:37 p.m. in the evening, and it's beginning off the west coast of Iceland, Greenland, and then it tracks down to the Iberian Peninsula, sweeps over the lower western and southern parts of Europe and crosses parts of Eastern Europe and into the Baltics and passes south of Moscow and then moves over parts of Siberia. The only part of Europe that doesn't get its full totality is Scandinavia, but they'll still have at least 2/3 of the sun being obscured. That's a lot of energy stacked up in the sky, y'all. Working against many of these tyrants living in these parts of the world too. I'm interested to see how it's all going to play out. This solar eclipse falls at 20 degrees Leo. It's also the new moon, and it's not making a direct aspect to any other planet, but it is a total eclipse, meaning the moon sits in a perfect line between the Earth and the sun. So if you have planets around 20 degrees of Leo, or if you have anything in the Aquarius house, pay attention here. And if you'd like a reference point, look back to 2007, 2008. What were your challenges then? What were your big wins at that time? History tends to rhyme, so have a look in your chart or just consult me. Just over for about 2 minutes, I believe, 2 minutes and 18 seconds, I think I've taken notes on to be exact. The life force of the sun is quite literally cut off from our planet. No heat, no light. Depending on where you're standing, you might see animals gather and roost as though it were dusk. You can feel the temperature drop and you get to watch the moon about 390 times smaller than the sun, completely block it out. That's nothing small to witness. And on Friday, August 28th, around 6 a.m. local time where I am in south of Amsterdam, we get a lunar eclipse. About 93% of the moon will be swallowed by Earth's shadow, turning it a deep red, orangish color, depending on the atmosphere and where you're watching from. So, why this matters? Here's your collective read. Eclipses have been watched since the dawn of recorded time, treated with everything from worship to outright terror, occasionally weaponized by people chasing personal power. So, what you do with it is entirely up to you. Plenty of people, historically, have simply gone still and quiet when the light disappears. And there's something to that. And they are never just symbolic. Eclipses are reliable predictors of disruption for the world and for you personally if they land on something in your natal chart. 6 months ago, back in February, we had a solar eclipse at 28 degrees Aquarius, setting right on the natal moon of the United States and directly on Trump's descendant, the House of Open Enemies. And on the 28th of February, I believe, is when the US and Israel opened hostilities against Iran. So weeks later, in March, a lunar eclipse then occurred in Virgo, landing on the Pisces-Virgo axis, an axis with a track record of disrupting oil. And sure enough, prices surged, fuel shortages followed, and by April, I believe we saw the airlines that were cutting their flights. I'm not telling you this to be an alarmist. I'm telling you this because the sky always keeps receipts, and it's worth knowing that before we set inside this next eclipse window together. Ground yourself. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Audra, and I am a writer, a restorative yoga teacher, and a transformation mentor, currently based in the Netherlands. My work is about healing the nervous system, regulating, embodying change, and building spaces where people can understand themselves with more compassion and a lot less performance. Through restorative yoga, we calm the body. Through astrology, we read the patterns. And through community, we actually change it together, not alone. That's the whole project, really. Not turning you into somebody new, just helping you come home to who you already are. My work currently lives on Substack, and if you're more of a watch it later kind of person, this new YouTube channel is where I'm trying to dedicate more time for content. So find me on Substack or subscribe to me here, and I am looking forward to reporting and giving more content in the future. This eclipse season is asking something of all of us. Let it fall apart on purpose. I'll see you on the other side.